All right, Lions fans, this is your guy. I'm not a Lions fan, but we are back again with another video. And this is not going to be on like anybody on the roster. This actually is someone it's going to be about somebody that's not on the roster. However, I would, if I could make a roster move, if I can get any player over to the Lions this year. Of course, this year. If I get any player from another team on the Lions roster right now, with our current roster, with the current cap situation, etc., even if I had to take on the cap hit that it will cost to get the player to come here, there's only one player that I look at, and that is Von Miller. If somehow he can come over to this team with this current roster and the current state that is in, uh, he would be my Rasheed Wallace move. And I call it a Rasheed Wallace move, not because it's like a superstar trade type deal, or but it's just how when Rasheed was on the market and when he got traded to I believe to the Hawks, and ended up being a 1 day deal that he played with the Hawks for like one game, and next you know he's being traded to Detroit. So what Detroit had already established, they didn't have him with what they already established. Now the Detroit Lions don't have anything established yet in terms of on film, according to the average eye. I'm sorry, but I can't, if I may say, iterate this enough. The players that they brought in this year, I'm speaking about the vets. The vets they brought in this year are the players, or are the personnel, or is the personnel that would have gotten the Lions over the hump in those crucial moments in those games where they lost when it came down to that play. If it's a fumbles going back the other way, just the personnel that we have was just they was they was drowning. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if Patricia was giving them information, or Quinn and Patricia was giving them information, they're giving them information based upon like established it's established type information, But if you never if the highest you ever been as a player was just getting to the playoffs, or if you want to do a bonus thing, you made the Pro Bowl or something. All right, that's a commendable feat if you want to say it that way. But if you have been to the Super Bowl, if you have won the Super Bowl, if you have lost the Super Bowl, that's like the top, right? So I guess we could say that's kind of larger than going to the Pro Bowl or going to the playoffs. And I understand how we don't want to, I guess we don't want to, go past ourselves by saying the Lions standard should be just winning the division or something like that. But I'm sorry, I may say that how can winning the division be an accomplishment? The reason why I say that is you didn't bring in players who were on a team or on teams that just won the division. You brought in players who went to the Super Bowl, may have won, may have lost, but they've been to the Super Bowl. I mean, for the past 3 years, I'm not talking about the rookies. I'm talking about the free agents. The free agents that the Lions brought in, they brought in players that have been to the Super Bowl. Not the NFC title game, not winning the division, not just going to the Pro Bowl, but they have been to the Super Bowl. Either they have won or lost, but they have been. those players brought in this just this year alone. I believe it's I want to say it's 4 players that they brought in this year that was on a Super Bowl team. I believe either last year or the year before last. Uh, the Patriots didn't make it last year, so they went the year before. So if you have Harmon, you have Collins, and you have Danny Shelton from one aspect, and then you bring in Reggie Ragland from another perspective. So you even got Big V on the offensive line from another perspective. You brought in championship type mentality personnel. Like you brought in championship personnel, and you got rid of the personnel that just made it to to the playoffs. They didn't win it. The talent that we let go, they didn't win. They weren't a part of a team that won the division. It was part of a team that just made the playoffs. If they didn't make the playoffs, they was a part of the losing culture. All that has to go. So taking a guy like Rasheed Wallace have been to the finals. Now that was the year that they not to the finals. I'm sorry, to the Western Conference Finals, and they lost out to L.A. So he never really got a chance to go to the to the finals with Portland. Detroit, on the other hand, the year before he came here, the Pistons, before he came to the Pistons, Detroit was in the Eastern Conference Finals. They got swept nonetheless, but they was there. So with that being said, Rasheed Wallace was like the missing piece. What was the piece that would have got Detroit over the hump past New Jersey? Was the pieces that they added coming in that coming year. You know, they added Lindsey Hunter, they added Elton Campbell, Darvin Ham, uh, players like that. They Mike James, etc. And then of course you got Rasheed Wallace. But all those players played um, they played a role that complemented the players that got to the Eastern Conference Finals. So a player like Rasheed Wallace with how he checks off all the boxes, he made that he took that team over he was the missing piece to get the team over the hump. Because how do you check that? If they was having problems with checking the 4 players with the bench that they had, how do you check Rasheed Wallace? You got to double him as it is. How do you? So with that being said, this is why I compare Von Miller to Rasheed Wallace. But at the age that Von Miller is at, he's been to the Super Bowl and everything else. And if you add him with the Super Bowl caliber talent that they brought in, let's say that again, the Super Bowl caliber talent that they brought in, and they got rid of the 97. I don't. It's maybe like it's 3 players, maybe 4 at the most. Let's say okay, 5. 5 out of the will be reduced to a 53-man roster. You got like 5 players that was part of the 9-7 regime or less. So it's a new regime. The players that you brought in was all Super Bowl caliber players. Are they all household names and something like that? Then no, but they played a role in winning the Super Bowl, or being in the Super Bowl, or getting to the Super Bowl. How about saying it that way? But Von Miller though, he checks off all the boxes with the Pistons, what the Lions is missing for this year. I mean, he checks off all the boxes. Now, a recent running back is released from I think from Jacksonville. Not interested. Not interested. I don't need a player who haven't been to the Super Bowl. I don't need another player who is talented but hasn't been a part of winning or getting to the AFC title game or winning the AFC title game or just getting to the Super Bowl. I don't need another player that is not Super Bowl caliber. I need players that is Super Bowl caliber, that has IQ, that and at the stretch they have talent. You know what I mean? And I don't need players that haven't done anything, not coming here, not this year. Look what this roster is built on. And okay, you got the young vets, you got the young pups, you got the Jelani Tavares, the Tracy Walkers, You have Kenny Galladay. You have Amari Oruwariye. You have Deshaun Hand and um, and um, oh, I'm missing someone. Let's say we got that for now. So those are our young pups, you know, and you Carry On Johnson, you could say that too, and T.J. Hawkinson and Swift. Those are our young pups. I need Super Bowl caliber talent to surround that. Can you imagine Super Bowl talent surrounding that? I don't. I don't. I could care less about a player, a household name with the household name. I could care less about that. I did coming into the season. You know, I wanted the Chris Jones or the Byron Jones and you know, different players such as that. You know, I wanted those players, but the players that they brought in are Super Bowl caliber players across the board. Even Trufant, they all went to the mountaintop. Amendola, Trufant, you could say Wiggins, you could say Ibushi. You know, those players they have been places where they have went past winning the division. So Jim Carwell and Jim Schwartz did all the heavy lifting for Matt Patricia to go ahead and get the team to the Super Bowl. But uh, but the point of making it, if I may emphasize this about the Quinn making a statement about the 9-7 is not enough. How much of that 9-7 is still on his roster? And then at the same time, when you're getting rid of it, you have to replace it with something superior, you know, and or something that has a higher ceiling. And I believe that what they brought in with the Justin Colemans and so forth, all the players they brought in would play a significant part so far as like getting to the Super Bowl. If not getting to the Super Bowl, if not winning it this year or next year. This year, I'm looking at NFC title game. Either you win it, get into the Super Bowl, or you don't win a Super Bowl, whatever. But you get into you at least it's NFC title game. The NFC doesn't bother me one bit. I don't care about the 49ers. I don't care about the division. Anybody that's in the division or other division. I don't care about anybody in the NFC. It's not about anybody else anymore. The number one opponent that the Lions have is themselves. If they can get past the mental wall of them beating themselves or self imploding or somehow not raising a standard to Super Bowl caliber. It's one thing to say like, well, yeah, we're gonna win it this year. It's one thing, but it's another thing to have the 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 in house mentality that develops a special group. That's the group that gets to the Super Bowl, and ultimately, that's the group that actually wins the Super Bowl. It starts in house. It's like even though when Reggie Ragland made the comment that when he said that the Lions have that Super Bowl type of quality, and what he's saying is that the personnel from Quinn all the way down is I won't even say from the forwards all the way down, from the ownership all the way down, because the ownership really don't have much experience about getting to the Super Bowl. So that about winning at all in that matter. So I'm gonna say Quinn on down. So Quinn is basically establishing a culture that has never achieved really anything. It's up under the forwards, that have never really achieved. Which is 91 NFC title game, and you lose, right? That's as far as this team has went up under this organization has went up under the forwards, right? So they don't have much experience of actually winning. So Quinn is establishing a winning everything. He brought in okay, you brought in Bevel and Underling, Super Bowl caliber coordinators. Man, I hope the Lions fans are really paying attention what they're actually doing. They are building a special group. It's not just they brought in a coordinator. They brought in a very specific type of coordinator. Now the one thing I noticed this with as an average fan, a name, a household name comes to the limelight where either they being released or it possibly being rumors to be traded or so forth, or they're disgruntled. They went out. The first thing the Lions fans do, like, should we go after this player? See, I believe the average Lions fan really have low standards, and what I mean by that is, like, I'm not saying saying they have low standards about them as a fan personally. I'm saying at towards the Lions they have a low standard. And what I mean by that is if this team highest achievement up under the Fords has been getting to the NFC title game and lose. Winning a division is a low standard. And what I mean by that is I need I need someone to develop and build. I need someone to come in and build an establishment that has been to the top, that has been to the Super Bowl. And look what Quinn has done. Look, this group is special. And I know I'm off topic about Von Miller. I'll get back to that. This group is special, like how he's assembling. Quinn knows what he's doing. I could care less about the players talking about he drafted Teej Tabor and everything else. Teej Tabor could have worked if he got his head out the way. He was over there with Richard Sherman. How come you're not working with Richard Sherman? His head is in the way. It's not that he's not talented. He's talented. His head is in the way. So anyway, that's another story. But even if Jared Davis is going to play a role, if he's not on his team, he would be whatever. But up until he's no longer part of this team, he's going to play a significant role. He's not going to play that maybe, and of course this is my opinion, that he is not going to be that first round talent type of role. It is not necessary. Let's say, for example, Corliss Williamson, and this is off the subject. This is off to another sport. But Corliss Williamson was a high draft pick coming out of where did he come from? I think it was Arkansas. I think. And he was a high whatever, but how do you end up being a sixth man if you're that high? But he played a very significant role of the rebuilding of the Pistons. A very significant role. So I think Jared Davis is, if he's going to be on a team, he's going to be your six man type guy, and which means he's coming off the bench type of guy. Why I say Reggie Ragland is going to replace him, and what I mean by that is that what they will want Jared Davis to have been for the last couple of years is just be not just being flexible where you're so versatile. You can move here, move there, but it's just Jared Davis can tackle, but I don't think he intimidates anybody. I'm not talking about he has to be a thumper, but I don't think he intimidates anybody. Now you may add a little muscle, you may do this and everything else. I get that, whatever. Like I said, he's going to play a significant role, but it puts me in the mind of a Corliss Williamson type role or Eldon Campbell type role for the Pistons when they was going on their title run. But Ragland is a different breed. He's like a Lindsey Hunter, Mike James type guy. Duron Harmon is like a Lindsey Hunter, Mike James type guy. They hungry guys. They don't care about anything else. They hungry. And I'm not talking about hungry like to get paid or nothing like that. They just want to, I don't want to say destroy people, but they're not trying to be your friend type deal. So, and I going back to Von Miller. Okay, now with that, with what was just said about Deron Harmon and Reggie Ragland, and you could say Jamie Collins. Those players is hungry. Danny Shelton, they hungry players, and not hungry to lose. They didn't come here to lose. They brought in personnel who's accustomed of winning. That's what you have to take. You have to get rid of the players that is accustomed to losing and replace it with players that is accustomed to winning. That's how you change a culture. So a fan may say, why do you get rid of Diggs or why do you get rid of Slay? Now if they was a now if their mouth was quiet, I'm not saying they don't have to have words to say. That they don't supposed to say anything. I'm saying as but you're speaking from your level of talk is like it's considered successful to a degree if the ceiling is getting to the Pro Bowl. Then you have all the say that you can put out there. Can you imagine like Diggs and Slay having a conversation with Deion Sanders, Rod Woodson, and uh, um, Ronnie Lott? Can you imagine those two having a conversation? If anything, Diggs and Slay just quiet. If anything, they will be sitting there quiet, just absorbing all the information they can get. If they have a lot to say, it says a lot about them. That's the point what I'm saying about a player that could be quiet in the locker room. If you haven't achieved anything. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about getting to the Pro Bowl. I'm not. I will not. I I will not shoot down anything that they have accomplished. But I'm saying in terms of what we call the standards of the great ones. You know, it's it's okay, and that's why I think Patricia is hinting at the most. Now he may not have been the most sensible, when it comes to choosing his choice of words. But I think what he's saying is like, what do you have in common with those who have been there? I mean, your highest ceiling is losing, and you're okay with that. And I'm as a person, I'm not knocking them, but as a player who has something to say, like instead of having a lot to learn, you have a lot to say based upon a lot of losing, and your your credibility is based upon your personal success. And I get that. But going back to Von Miller, you bringing in a guy who, out of everybody I could bring, out of everybody, off of anybody, I should say, out of anybody that I can get off of any roster, that I could bring over here, one player that I could bring over here, Von Miller will be that guy. And I understand that you may have a thoroughbred out there that's young, vibrant, and everything else that whatever. I don't need. I need a Super Bowl caliber guy. Look what they are assembling, from the coordinators to the church. Look what they're investing into this losing organization. It's Super Bowl aspirations type deal. They're getting rid of all the stuff that was part of the 9-7. That's okay with 9-7. Look, a person may say like that was wrong how they did certain players. Those players were okay with 9-7. They was okay with getting to the playoffs or not getting to the playoffs. That was okay. Now I'm about to make a comparison between the current Lions, and at the time the upcoming Cowboys, when they lost, I think, the wild card that year against the Lions, and that's how the Lions end up going to the NFC title game against Washington. The Jimmy Johnson Cowboys was up and coming. And I made that self same thing with the Lions last year. They up and coming. They're coming. They're and they're coming. So that year, I think it was 91. The next year, what, they go to the Super Bowl, right? The Cowboys go to the Super Bowl. They made a few tweaks. I don't know if it was that year they got Charles Haley from the 49ers and a few other picks, but that draft that year put them over the top. That draft put them over the top. And I'm using this comparison with them is that they had to learn how they was in house. What I heard the year that they lost against the Lions, it was Emmitt Smith, but mainly this. It was mainly Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith talking. I don't know if Troy Aikman was doing a lot of talking. Troy Aikman was into his own world. He probably was there. He put me in the mind of Stafford there, but not really having a lot to say. And they was like, "Oh, we're gonna be ready for the 49ers next year. Well, we're gonna be ready for them." And they went in like they have never been to the Super Bowl, and they never really have. They don't have much of a track history of winning. They've been building, and they got knocked out of the wild card, whatever I think. But they went in there. Those two players, those are your two leaders, Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin. Either they're your voice or the heartbeat or your whatever. Those are your two guys, right? And they saying that, well, we're not gonna lose again. And that became the template or the foundation for that Cowboys team. And I don't know how much they worked hard, whatever. I don't know about the offseason stuff, but they came in the next year and they did what? They went to the Super Bowl. Not only did they win, they won. So I didn't see for the past 3 years. I didn't see any players come together and say, "Oh yeah, we coming back next year stronger." Not coming back next year stronger, like to do what they did the previous year. No, I mean just like if we lost in the playoffs, let's say to the Cowboys or to Seattle, I didn't see the players make a decree like your leadership make a decree like Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin did. Oh, we're not losing no more, and that was backed up by the coach. Now let two players do that this year, or have done this in the offseason. Oh, we're not losing anymore. You had one that spoke up. I think it was Deron Harmon in the actual interview of stating that we're not gonna do that losing here. And I imagine Jamie Collins, I imagine Danny Shelton, I imagine Trey Flowers, I imagine Trufant, I imagine that they all are on that self same boat. We're not losing anymore. And why? Because you brought in Super Bowl caliber personnel. Losing is not an option when you've been up there. It's not about I'm about to turn this franchise around. No, it's not even about the franchise. It's about losing is not an option. And as long as we had those players that losing was optional, they was going to continue to lose. It didn't matter if you had a Calvin Johnson or Barry Sanders. None of that matters. If you long as you got players that surrounding them, that losing is an option. Put it like this: Calvin Johnson or Barry Sanders shouldn't have to say anything to the rest of the team about everybody. Let's losing is not an option. They shouldn't have to say that. Their play on the field was enough for everybody to be on that self same accord. Losing shouldn't be an option because they're doing everything in their power on a team or in a team sport, doing everything in their power as an individual to carry the team. See, that's where Stafford misses me with it. That's why I say Stafford's like a tale of two. He's becoming that guy now for the past 2 years. He's becoming that guy. Losing is not an option. But long as he was okay with losing is an option, then therefore the team was going to go as far as that. As long as your best players was saying losing is an option, or is optional, that's going to be your standard. That's why I believe Quinn made the statement the 97 is not enough because the players that they had on that team, from the coaches, from the coordinators, 9-7 was good enough. He said, I'm about to flush all that out and I'm about to flood this organization with nothing but winning personnel. And that's all he brought in. So since he moved out Cardwell, look what all he brought in the replacement of what he moved out. He brought in those who have been to the Super Bowl, that personnel, right? So Quinn, I love Quinn. Quinn is like is Dumars to me. Quinn is Dumars, and I can go on record by saying that you could say Swartz and Cardwell will be your Rick Carlisle, if you will. And I'm going to say it. I think Matt Patricia is Larry Brown, and he will figure it out. Early on, when Larry Brown first got here, the Pistons struggled. Even when they made the trade and got Rasheed Wallace, he struggled. He struggled to figure it out. But the players had to figure it out to help out the coach. And then once the coach had something like a foundation to play off of, he was able to build it. Then he could put everybody in their proper places. So that's why I believe that, like Patricia, why he needs his guys, because he needs help to form it, so he can step out of himself to see how to place it, put everything in position, if that makes any sense. And that brings me to Von Miller. If I can get Von Miller above any defensive tackle, above any defensive end or edge rusher or anything like that, or any cornerback or give me Von Miller. Give me him. Give me that guy. That is my Rasheed Wallace. With that being said, Lions fan, I salute.